If you want to pump your body and expand your mind, there's only one place to go. Mind Pump. Mind Pump with your hosts, Sal DiStefano, Adam Schaefer, and Justin Andrews.
In this exciting episode of Mind Pump, we talk about the book Hit Makers. This is in the intro, by the way. We talk about challenging fitness dogma. It's kind of what we do all the time. And then I get into a debate with Adam over water intake.
Should you or should you not be drinking a ton of water?
Do I win this debate again, or is this the one time Adam actually wins?
Probably not.
You'll find out when you listen to this episode. And then we talk about my asymmetrical tonsil and how I found out that I had one.
Find out how Sal found out.
Then we get into the questions. The first question that we answer is, should you not deadlift and squat because it will thicken your waist? The next question is, what are you most afraid of for your kids with advertising in the fitness industry? Me and Justin have a lot to say about that.
Probably a good idea not to have any.
And that's Adam's opinion. Then we get into the old controversy, high-intensity interval training cardio versus low-intensity steady-state cardio.
Or none at all.
The acronyms are Hiit and Liss. Which one's the most effective one for burning body fat and getting on stage? And finally, someone asked us, how do we reconcile the fact-based information that we share on the show with someone like Paul Chek, who actively rebukes all scientific understanding? Yes, I know the question was asked crazy. Yes, I disagree with it, but we answer it anyway in this episode of Mind Pump. And then, huge announcement.
Oh, I'm so pumped for this right here.
Yeah,
so
this is big.
I've got a ton of people that have been inboxing about I have a friend who I've been trying to get to listen to Mind Pump, and they haven't listened to Mind Pump yet, and the program's been amazing, yada, yada, yada. And so I think, and Sal actually came up with this, and I think it's a brilliant idea, which is giving away a super bundle. If you purchase a super bundle, you will be able to gift a full bundle to a friend.
So it's like a 2-for-1 or buy one, get one type of deal. And this is actually a legit concern. I've had husbands and wives message us. We've had friends message us and say, hey, we both want to follow the program. Can I just, how can we work this out or whatever? And I think this is great. People like to work out together. The super bundle includes all of our programs. So it's got everything. It has MAPS Anabolic, our foundational program, MAPS Performance, which is our performance-based, mobility-based program. It's got MAPS Aesthetic, which is our competition-based program, and then MAPS Prime, which teaches you how to self-assess. What else does it include?
Are we gonna do either or bundle, or is this only for the super bundle? Are we gonna do the RGB bundle also, or are we only doing the super bundle that we'll be able to give it for free?
I think the super bundle, because it has everything.
Yeah,
it's got everything in it, right? What else does the super bundle have, Doug? Doesn't it have some more stuff? It's got MAPS Anywhere. That's right, the equipment-free MAPS program. So when you enroll in the super bundle, and then you get to give a free super bundle to whoever you want.
Which literally is setting you and your friend or spouse or whoever you're giving the free one to, setting you guys up for the next year's worth of training.
It's basically a year's worth of exercise programming. You can find this. Oh, and by the way, this promotion is not going to be going on all month long.
No.
This is one of the few promotions we're going to actually end even before the halfway point of the month. I believe
12 days is what Doug said.
12 days, right? So the 12th, this promotion will end. It's a very short one, so tell your friend, get them on board. You can find out about this promotion or enroll in this promotion at mindpumpmedia.com.
Don't wait.
Spread the MAPS love, everybody.
The book Hit Makers talks about like almost every movie that we watch is the same thing, just delivered differently.
You mean the Warrior's Journey?
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, that one's an example of the Warrior's Journey, but sometimes it's not.
Joseph Campbell, man.
Almost every movie we watch there was another familiar story just told differently.
How funny is that? Like, there's certain patterns that we just love. Like you ever listen to like music, for example? EDM is great for this. There's a formula with electronic music.
Yes, absolutely.
Like it starts off kind of slow, then it builds up, crescendo, boom, the beat drops, everybody goes crazy, and then it goes back and starts over again, and it gets you excited.
Well, that's
it's hilarious.
Hitmakers.
I can't wait till computers design music.
Hitmakers is the science of popularity. So that's the message of the book, is the science behind popularity, and it actually opens up and starts with music is what it gets into, and they've been doing that since the 1920s. And maybe we didn't understand the science of it in the 20s, but we have definitely mastered it now today, like as far as how we make people feel through music, through sound, through video, through movies. It was a great book. I tell you what, I haven't posted about it yet, but I will post on IG real soon here as far as my review. But those that listen to this first, definitely one of the better books I read this year. Slow start to it. It almost lost me at the beginning because it does get into the history in the 20s, and I really wasn't interested in like music in the 20s. Yeah, it was, but it was important to the entire story of the book. So once you get past the beginning, it really picks up, and then literally the whole book is worth the final chapter, in my opinion. I mean, the last chapter,
really,
yeah, because it gets into Disney and stuff like that, and just understanding the science behind how they've done everything is pretty fascinating.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, you guys will like it.
I'll check it out. Man,
they make magic.
I've been doing a little reading and postulating on. One of my favorite things to do is to take things that we consider dogma or what's the word, gospel in fitness, and challenging it just for the sake of it.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny? Most of the time, I find that it's bullshit or it's too much. You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
So like protein intake, or frequent, eating small meals throughout the day.
Oh, you mean like
any common knowledge?
Like things that we accept as like, you know what I mean? Like, oh no, that's for sure. You have to do that, or that's the way it is, right?
Yeah, like you're talking about water.
Water intake is one that we don't. Everybody's just it's like drink lots of water.
You profess that you have to.
Oh, you're gonna go. You're gonna go
water.
here, huh?
Oh, I'm gonna shit in your water.
Oh wow.
Hey man.
Okay.
No, I'll tell you.
Bring it on, Sally. This is a good topic, and I'm passionate.
Oh, I don't know. I was going to debate you over it.
Yeah. Well,
Are you sure you want to do that?
Well, I know where you're going with this.
This is getting recorded.
And yeah, go for it. Go for it. Go ahead and drop your knowledge real quick.
So no, when it comes to water,
I use a Brita filter, so yeah, I don't want to do that shit.
No.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, I'm not talking about filtered water versus unfiltered water.
Whatever.
When it comes to water intake,
positively charged.
What do we hear? What do we hear in?
As long as it has electrolytes.
In fitness, like Adam, you're in the
drink tons of water, right?
Drink tons of water. Like, what's the common things that you hear in especially the muscle building world with water?
At least a gallon plus a day.
A gallon plus a day. Like it's just like black and
white.
Carry
a jug.
Yeah, and then why do they say you need to drink tons of water? What's the benefit?
To stay hydrated, metabolism.
There you go.
Yeah.
Metabolism. What else? Flushes out.
Flushes
toxins.
out. Yeah. Of course. Now that's where I'm definitely not going to debate you on that.
Helps you build muscle, burn body fat. Here's what's interesting about water intake is first off, it's one of the most individualized things you could possibly. When it comes to it's as if not more individualized than food intake, because your level of hydration or required the amount of water that you need changes. Not just weekly, but daily, and also within the day, it changes.
So where's your barometer? Is it how bad your pee stinks or what?
It's how salty it tastes. No, I'm just kidding. It's more about really just our body has these signals that tells us when we should have water, and those signals we evolved with, and they're more accurate than any estimation that we can come up with. So I did some research.
Well, they say that the feeling of thirst is actually signs of already dehydration starting, right?
That's false. That's actually not true. Sign of thirst is to prevent dehydration. It's actually a pretty good measure. Now, if you're not in tune with your body, if you're super busy and you're not paying attention, or if you're unhealthy, that may be off, just like any other signal may be off. But in reality, being thirsty is kind of a good signal. But here's what's interesting. I did some research and I found that, did you guys know that there are as many, if not more, hospitalizations for what's called hyponatremia, which is excess water, than dehydration? Do you guys know that?
More?
Yeah. People actually get, especially as people age, and especially when people have health issues like kidney issues and heart issues. And when it comes to athletes, it's estimated that as much about an equal percentage of athletes drink too much water as those that drink too little water. And the side effects of drinking too much water are like reduced performance, brain fog, irregular heartbeats. You can actually damage your liver from too much water. And as I'm reading this, I'm thinking like, You know, I know why we tell people to drink more water, and it's typically because in certain cases people maybe not drink too much or drink too much soda and other types of beverages.
Well, what about when you're super depleted, or like, let's say, because they used to profess this quite a bit when there was like high humidity and heat, and it was apparent you'd lose like 5-10 pounds of water weight, throughout the day. And so it was like this preventative measure that you had to overhydrate because, the sweat factor and like how much like actual weight you were going to lose being, detrimental.
Well, there's a lot of women in particular actually are have a higher likelihood of suffering from the effects of too much water. They don't require as much as men do. Their body actually holds on to water much better than ours do. And of course, they're smaller typically, right? But think about all the things that affect how much water your body may need for optimal health, right? I mean, everything from your body's chemistry to your nutrition to your sleep to your activity levels. Are you in a hot climate? How much sodium you've consumed or other electrolyte levels in your body? It's so different from person to person and from day to day that the advice that we give people in the fitness industry, like drink a gallon of water a day at least, is so ridiculously simplified and potentially could have bad effects on people.
I have a theory on that.
What's your theory?
It's the same theory that I have with the protein kind of debate that we have. And that's why I was really interested in what direction you were going to go with this, because I know that you're not somebody who's like pushes the water intake on people. And I know that I am. And the reason why I am is the same reason why I used to push protein, especially on a lot of my female clients, is because in my 15 years of coaching clients and tracking food and paying attention to their intake, most people grossly underate protein. That's a fact.
Now you say grossly
underate.
Most people eat essential amounts of protein. You're talking about levels of protein for optimal for muscle building.
For building muscle, because most people that hire you are looking to build muscle and burn fat.
Right,
okay,
right.
So, we're not talking about to survive and live. We're not talking about that. Same thing goes for the water thing, okay? And I think what went wrong in fitness and what tends to go wrong in fitness a lot is they take something that's pretty general, which I think if I were to look at if we were to screenshot all the people I ever trained and go, look at how many, 80%, let's just say, and that's a totally arbitrary number I'm throwing out there. Let's say 80% of these people did not get enough protein for optimal muscle building. Mm-hmm. So if I can say a majority of my people aren't eating enough, I'm going to come out with this message that says more protein. You guys need more protein. And I know that if I come out with a message like that I'm going to positively affect a majority of the people out there that are trying to build muscle because they were probably under eating. And so there is some good that comes from that message. And then we have what happens always in fitness is the pendulum swings from one side to the other side so extreme. Then you got the bodybuilder demographic that is like, more is better. So these guys are eating 1.5 to 3 grams of protein per pound of body weight. And the same thing, I believe, has happened with water. If I were to look at my clients again and took a screenshot of all the clients that I've trained in my career, and I asked them how much water, I want you to start tracking and tell me how much water you drink in a day, people grossly underdrink water because they're drinking sodas, they're drinking juices, they're drinking all these carbonated bullshit drinks. Me. Is that you? No, they're drinking all this crap and they're not getting enough water. So again,
the question is it that they're not drinking enough fluids, or is it that they're drinking too much of other fluids that are not just water?
Yeah,
in other words,
it's not. We didn't say fluid. We're talking about water. Okay,
right.
They're drinking plenty of fluids. But when you drink when you drink sugar and when you drink coffee, okay, caffeine dehydrates you. So it's like that's a 0-0.
Well,
so even though it's in water, it's
I need to correct that. It's a myth that drinking coffee dehydrates you. You still hydrate.
It's a 0-0.
No, you get way more water than you lose from the dehydration effects of caffeine. That's a huge myth, and I want to say that.
I wouldn't say way more.
It is.
And what are you talking about? Somebody that's drinking a a basic coffee drink? Or are you talking about what most people do, which is an extra shot of espresso inside there, or taking way more caffeine?
It's still a lot more water. It's actually fine.
I remember that same argument for beer.
Yeah, it's fine. You're fine drinking. Now, does caffeine cause water loss? It does, but it's not like drinking coffee. A cup of coffee it means you're not drinking water. But the question I have with what you're saying is do they, let's say somebody drinks lots of juice and soda and then they drink a little bit of water. Should they add water to that? Will that benefit them? Or is a lot of the benefit coming from reducing or eliminating all that other shit and replacing it with calorie-free water? That's the big question. And how do we know when people...
Or someone like me, okay, which I'm a good example of this. I will go on these kicks where I'll have 2 diet sodas and a coffee in my. That's a day of drinking. Could end up being a 1 glass or 2 glasses of water, 2 diet sodas, and a cup of coffee.
Yeah, and
that could easily be one of my days.
And here's the thing. Like, so you're in the category of people that likely require more water consumption for 2 different reasons. Number one, you have a lot of muscle, you sweat daily, you exercise at least an hour a day. And you consume high levels of protein. And so those things can definitely require more water intake. It's so individual. That's the thing.
Yeah. Where did they create these standards?
Exactly. Again, this started because people. I'm not that abnormal. I guarantee if most people that are listening right now truly assessed, unless they are making an attempt to drink more water, the average person coming into the fitness realm saying, I'm going to get in shape, I want to build muscle, I want to burn fat, I'm going to start paying attention to these things. If they truly assess themselves, a majority of people are under drinking water and over drinking stuff that is not ideal for them.
Yeah, and I would that's
where this comes from.
And this is what I want to see, because here's what I'm speculating. This is what I want to see. I want to see, are the benefits, when you tell someone, a random client, and you say, hey, I want you to drink a gallon of water a day, does that equate to less?
Is that really benefiting them?
Does that equate to less soda drinking, less juice drinking, less?
Sure.
And
of course,
does it equate to lowered appetite because now you're drinking more water?
Absolutely. That's really.
So is that the benefit, or is the benefit because you're having tons of water?
No. And so that's how I teach it. So if I told someone drink a gallon of water, I know that it's going to help curb appetite. I know it's obviously going to hydrate them. I know that if they're drinking that much water, they're going to have a hard time getting in diet sodas, juices, and other crap inside their diet.
Right.
So their real benefits, probably the bulk of the benefits, isn't from this great hydration, speeding up your metabolism, or doing something to the body that's like amazing because they're having a gallon of water. It's doing a lot of other things.
Right.
I think to your point, the fitness industry again has bro science the fuck out of it. And so there's this misconception. But I also want to make sure that when you come out and say something like that, because I'm very passionate about water and protein, and you speak out the other way, and then what I see people do is they go like, oh shit, well Sal says there's more people drinking too much water than not enough water, and then they go, oh fuck it, I'll go back to my drinking my diet sodas instead.
No,
I don't want that message.
So he's just challenging common thought. So like that's a common thought process, is to just keep drinking more water.
In my opinion, it's a good one.
Yeah, I want to know a little bit more then. Okay, so if you're saying that there's people in the hospital that have been over consuming water, like what does that look like? What's the amount, and like, what are the detriments?
Again, irregular heartbeat, brain fog, fatigue. It can affect mood, like it can cause depression. It can cause feeling faint. These are all symptoms of having too much water. And here's the other thing. So this is why I want to correct the message, because here's what people are hearing. People are hearing, drink lots of water. Now, if I'm the average person and I don't change my soda intake, my tea intake, my coffee intake, and then I add a shit ton of water on top of it, I may have a problem. I may actually, and this is actually what's happened. So endurance athletes, for example, are hammered more than anybody else for avoiding dehydration. This is like a big thing with endurance athletes. Like, don't be dehydrated. Don't be, especially 10, 20 years ago. Now, they've learned that that they need to consume sodium with their water, and they need to be careful with their electrolyte imbalance. But before, it was like hammer water, and more endurance athletes were having issues with too much water because of that message, because they were so worried about it, especially women, and especially long endurance events, that they were just pounding the water and they were making themselves sick. And people are under the impression that there's no detriment. And here's the thing, as with anything, there is an optimal dose. And that means that less than that is suboptimal and more than that is suboptimal, but take it another level, push that in either direction, and it becomes dangerous. And that's what happens with water. And I read cases where people would do these water challenges and literally fucking die from drinking too much water because their cells
that's happened a few times
actually drown. So the thing, it's almost like we keep pushing people away from listening to their body, when in reality, just start to connect to it a little more, and you'll have better signals.
Yeah, but you gotta understand something, man. You're a black belt in that, dude. You're a fucking black belt in that. So asking somebody else to be that in tune with their body, a majority of the listeners are white belts, dude.
Yeah.
You can't tell somebody. That's why we have generic advice like that. And there is generic advice out there that I think, and I think you make good points. So I'm not completely debating what you're saying and arguing. I'm just saying that I also want to caution that when we say things like that I think the recommendation of drinking more water has done more good than it's done harm.
Yeah. I would say
definitely replacing it.
There you go.
Like you're saying, like the thought process to have like a soda or a juice or a coffee, or let's stick with water as being the beverage of choice.
Here's the best advice. I think it's shit advice to tell people drink a gallon of water a day and drink 8 ounces, 8 glasses of water and all that stuff. I think that's so general, it's just ridiculous. I also think. Here's the advice that I'll give people. Don't drink anything but water. How about that? Listen to your body. Don't drink anything but water. Don't drink sodas. Don't drink teas. Don't drink whatever. If you want to have a little bit of coffee or a little bit, fine. But the vast majority of the fluid that you consume should be water. And I think you'll have pretty much no problems. I mean,
what part of alcohol plays a role in that?
Alcohol, provides fluids also, believe it or not. Actually, they have some studies that show that beer replaces electrolytes and stuff pretty well.
Studies, yeah.
But again,
what about what's happening to the liver and kidneys when you're taking in alcohol, and if you're overhydrating, the stress that it puts on there, and then if you're also having alcohol, that's where I'm going.
So like too much water with alcohol.
Yeah.
It's negative effects, just like having too little water with alcohol. Like again, both are bad for you. You can get actually liver cirrhosis from consuming too many, from having the electrolyte imbalance, from having too many fluids. So, the reason why I brought it up and I wanted to talk about it is because I know a lot of people are going to freak out because Sal says, the advice to drink tons of. Here's another piece of the advice that I think is hilarious, is the drink water throughout the entire day, all day long. And the reason why I think that's ridiculous is it completely doesn't match the likelihood of how we evolved. I mean, humans definitely lived around water.
Well, not just how we evolved, but also how our body works throughout the day. I mean, what we're doing right now doesn't require a ton of water.
Exactly.
Right? We're sitting on here talking about but you better believe in about 4 hours when I start throwing some weights around.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and think about it.
Around your high activity.
I literally drink 3/4 of a gallon of water around my workout.
Right. So
and then the other quarter or so gallon is spread out throughout the
right. So think about it this way. If I'm a competitor and someone's in my coach is saying drink 1 to 2 gallons of water every day, make sure you drink it throughout the day. Well, when I'm not working out and I'm drinking, 16 ounces of water, the likelihood that I'm drinking too much water and getting negatives is high. The likelihood that I may be drinking enough while I'm working out is good. It's high, right? So it's so dependent on what you're doing at the time, what you're eating, all these different things that to give these general guidelines.
Well, I have to
crazy.
I have to defend the coaches and the competitors out there because there is some sort of, and I'm not there. I'm helping somebody right now, right? So we're helping Melissa right now get ready for a show. It's her first show, and I don't have her tracking water yet, but I will soon, and I will give her a generic number to follow, but there's a different reason why.
Oh, totally.
I have her because I'm tracking to see how much water her body loses. And if I don't know, like, so if for example, let's say I give her the generic advice, Melissa, I want you to drink 1 gallon of water every single day. What I'm looking at is
Fluctuations.
the fluctuation, and then what her body looks like on a half a gallon of water, a quarter gallon of water, and a full gallon of water.
'Cause you're trying to see measurable data to work with.
Well, yeah, and I mean,
Keep it consistent.
We know that 60% of our muscles are made up of water, right? So filling up the muscle bellies with water makes an aesthetic change and look, right?
Especially when you're lean.
Right, exactly. So for me and coaches, and I don't know, I can't speak for all of them because we know that there's a ton of them that are idiots, but there might be some that are giving that, hey, drink a gallon of water, and they have the same theory or the thought process behind why they're doing that like I do, which is, listen, I need you to drink a gallon, and I want you to be consistent with that because I need to be consistent with your water loss, seeing what your body looks like, and then from there is how I'm going to have you adjust that. So there, when you talk about the competitive level, there is a different. You got to separate those.
Well, here's the other thing to consider too, which was kind of cool. I was thinking about this also, and I started doing some reading on it. And we always tend to have water or fluids with us while we're eating. And that may actually be a detriment to a lot of us.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, because
it doesn't help the digestive process.
No, actually, if anything, it dilutes the digestive process. It could.
Does it dampen like your saliva? And because I feel like cotton mouth if I don't have like a beverage with me.
So that may actually be more of a medical issue. You may have an issue with producing enough saliva. But it dilutes stomach acid.
I got a medical issue now.
It could be.
Fuck you, Sal. I don't like this discussion.
So you could you could be producing you dilute stomach acid, which changes how you digest food. It could cause your stomach to try and produce more acid as a result, which can be a problem.
Oh wow.
You could also, here's the other thing too. We tend to chew way too little.
I was just going to say this. So
sure
in your defense of that argument, I could definitely see if I didn't have water, it would force me to chew my food probably 30 to 50 times, which is the recommended amount of chewing your food before you swallow it. Which if you ever, this is a cool thing I tell people to actually pay attention to. It's actually, no one does that.
Pain in the ass.
Nobody does that. It's pay attention the next time you are shoveling food in your face on how little you chew and then swallow it down.
Mm-hmm. And take a gulp of water with
chewing is part of the
unhinged.
Chewing is part of the digestive process, and you would be blown away by how many people would eat less calories, be more satiated, and actually help.
Be like mindful about it
if they were mindful and actually chewed their food completely before they swallowed it down.
Dude.
And you got to believe that drinking fluid. It actually counters that, right? Because I could take a bite of something, like literally bite of my sandwich,
makes room.
wash it down with soda, and I just swallow it down.
That's 100% what's happening.
Yeah,
I do that. I do that all the time. I catch myself doing that all the time. And you're right. A big part, not a small part, a big part of digestion happens in the mouth with
the chew process,
with chewing and saliva. And
they wrote a whole diet on this. There was actually a book. I can't remember the name of the diet.
Deepak Chopra. He talks about this all the time, about like how many times you need to chew before you.
There's like a whole diet around like just chewing. Like if you have, and that's where I came up with that number. Like I think it's like 52 or something. It's like chew your food 52 times, and they, of course, a gimmicky sales thing, right? Chew your food 52 times every single time you take a bite, and you'll lose 15 pounds.
52 chew diet.
It's something like that.
And you would be surprised how many people's digestive issues become get solved with just chewing their. I mean, no joke. I'm not exaggerating.
Oh, I believe that.
I have clients.
We've all done that where you bit something and
Don't you feel like
I should have chewed that up more.
You're just talking to a toddler all the time.
What?
Chew your food.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, let's walk carefully.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, let's feel your body.
Wipe front to back.
It's
when you chew properly. You digest.
Wipe your ass.
You pre-digest your food. You should be able to swallow unless you have like a large tonsil. I actually have a big tonsil on one side, which makes it even more difficult. But
just on one side?
Just one side. Isn't that weird?
That is weird.
Yeah, I got a story behind that too. If you,
I can't wait to hear that.
chew your food well, you should be able to swallow it without any fluids.
Who's the guy that told you?
That I had I've had it since I was a kid. That's funny. Yeah. It won't go all the way in. Yeah, no.
Something's blocking it on the left side.
It's on the right. But if you should be able to swallow your food without drinking fluids with it. And again, you go back to evolution. Like humans did not. We were around water. Of course, we had to live near water, but we didn't like have jugs of water with us with our meals. We chewed the fuck of it, swallowed it, and we were good. Yeah. So just some interesting things.
Wasn't this why like wine and beer, it was like safer, right, to drink versus like sometimes the water?
Wow, that's cool. Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah,
right.
Because it's
is that like a myth?
Because the alcohol killed the bacteria.
It was less likely to have microbes in it and shit that would kill you.
That makes. Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, that's
back in the day. Yeah, so let's get on the beer diet.
Yeah, exactly.
Who's with me?
Yeah, so with my tonsil, I've had it since I was a kid, and it's just one side, so it's asymmetrical. Now, if I didn't have that since I was a kid, and I went to the doctor and it just happened, that means you might have like cancer, right, in your throat, because it's pretty rare to have one side, right?
This started your whole paranoia process, huh?
Yeah. So I've had it since
this was also the birth of Kermit.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
I think about that.
I'm changing.
If I removed it, I wouldn't sound the same, right?
Yeah.
So I can't do it anymore. So anyway, I was
so uniquely you.
So I was training my client who was this was years ago. He's a ear, nose, and throat specialist. And he told me a joke or something, and I was laughing with my mouth open, and he's like, hold on. He goes, open your mouth again? And I open, and he looks in there, and he's got this concerned look on his face.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, what? I'm like, what, dude? Because you guys know me. I'll get paranoid. Yeah. I'm like, what? What's going on? He goes, how long have you had that big tonsil? I'm like, oh, since I was a kid. And he goes, oh, okay. And he goes back to his workout, and I'm like, what? Like, tell me what? And he goes,
it's like the
nothing.
Size of an egg.
He goes, nothing.
No, you could have cancer.
Yeah. He goes, it's probably nothing. You've had it for so long. And I'm like, what do you mean probably nothing? I'm like, what does it mean if that happens? He goes, well, if I see that normally, I assume that it's malignant, and we got to do a biopsy and this and that.
But no big deal.
Freaked me out, dude. Freaked me out, bro. I had to have a conversation for like an hour with him for him to calm me down.
Yeah.
It's fucking horrible.
Bring on the bird, Doug!
The Eagle has landed.
Chimera Quad!
Today's Quad is being brought to you by Chimera Coffee. It's the only coffee that is infused with all natural nootropics for a cleaner, calmer, and more focused buzz without the crash. Click the Chimera link at mindpumpmedia.com and input the discount code MINDPUMP at checkout for 10% off.
It's the motherfucking Quad!
The Eagle has landed.
Quee-qua.
Our first question is from Austin Not East. His prep coach says not to deadlift or squat because it will thicken his waist.
You know what?
True or not true?
It'll also thicken his back.
God forbid.
The funniest part about this is that you were just picking a fight this morning. I saw that.
Yeah, I did.
Were you in a mood?
What?
Were you in a mood?
You
don't normally troll.
What do you mean?
Listen,
when you troll,
male standards, big chest, really slim little waist.
When you troll my men's physique buddies, I always know you're in a mood. I'm like, what are you doing, dude?
No, so I don't know if someone tagged me, if it was in the.
Oh, did you get tagged on it?
It might have been tagged, or I might have been just on.
Sal tags us this morning on some men's.
I want to start a company called Hourglass Dudes.
It was a men's physique pro, and he was promoting a waist trainer. And Sal just tags Justin and I and says, stupid advice.
just straight out.
Yeah, just stupid advice.
Like, stupid.
So
you are a moron, sir.
I might have been in a mood, but the truth is, forget the mood part. They give advice that's bad all the time, but rarely do they give dangerous advice. That's dangerous advice. So I have to say something because I'm looking at it, and there's all these comments of people who are like, where do I buy this? Ooh, this is great. Make my waist smaller. And I'm like, oh, fuck. All these people are going to atrophy the muscles around their core. It's going to cause problems. I need to say something so that at least when someone's looking at the comments, they see that I said it's
There's
stupid.
Counter information.
And and then underneath it, I explain why it's stupid. So hopefully I prevent, sorry, bro, you're not going to sell as many of your shitty waist trainers, but that's a good thing.
You already deleted your comment.
Do deadlifts and squats thicken your waist?
Well, first of all, the waist isn't a muscle.
No.
Okay, so the waist isn't a muscle.
It's a general area.
Yeah. So
what are you working today? Waist?
Yeah, waist.
Yeah.
Wasting.
I'm training my waist.
Just the way that it's called
crunches.
a waist trainer. You should get punched in the face for wearing one of those. Yeah, no, this is something that, of course, I saw a ton of this in, which I like to say I've seen a major shift lately. But when I started getting into competing and I saw the exercises these guys were doing, and I started talking to a lot of the competitors, like, oh yeah, no, definitely I don't deadlift or squat at all, or barbell squat, and I'm like, huh? you don't do the two most important lifts you could possibly do to build muscle on your body. And we're in the business of building muscle. Like, that didn't make sense to me.
It's too hard, bro.
Yeah. And then when they started explaining, like, oh, it makes my waist bigger. And I'm like, explain that to me. Like, I'm totally confused right now on why we would do that. And then this was like the first time I'd ever seen this. I didn't even know it existed. And I started seeing, and I started thinking, like, what the fuck? But then I had these people that like swear by it. Like, no, bro, look at, I'll show you pictures before, after. And then I was like, okay.
My coach told me obliques are the devil.
And then I realized like what they were doing. And I'm like, oh, you're literally like wearing that thing that tight and you sleep with it, you train with it, you never.
Oh, you're talking about the waist trainer now?
Yes. Yeah. Isn't that what we were talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
the
yeah.
deadlift and squat.
Yeah, that's what you were, the guy you commented on was a waist trainer, you know? And I'm like, that's so crazy to me that you would wear this thing all day like a cast and intentionally atrophy those muscles. And then you would eliminate exercises like the deadlift and the squat. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. No, deadlifting and squatting does activate the muscles of the core. The muscles of the core, what you need to understand, they can definitely build, but the ability of you to really build those muscles out and get massive core muscles is pretty small. It's not really muscles that hypertrophy the same way like quads do. But not only that, but if you deadlift, for example, your back's going to get bigger too. And a small waist is only small because of the contrast between your waist and your shoulders. So,
and that's what these judges see.
Right. And I'll give you an example. Like me and Adam, if we measured our waists, probably about the same size. If you see us standing in a picture next to each other, Adam's waist appears smaller than mine. It's not because he has a smaller waist, it's because he's got wider shoulders. And this is what you do on stage. Nobody goes and measures your fucking waist. It's about the difference between the shoulders and lats and all that stuff to your waist. And that comes from having muscle, not from not having muscle. But avoiding these two super effective exercises is horrible, horrible advice. And you've got average people who don't have this, the 0.1% of the genetics that these muscle builders have. They're not taking the amount of gear that they're taking. They never get to the ridiculous body fat levels that these competitors get to, and they're never going to step on stage. And they're hearing this advice thinking, oh, I'm trying to get leaner and I don't want a bigger waist, therefore I'm not going to squat.
Well, not only that, I wouldn't have as much of a problem if they just stayed specifically in the performance realm of it, right? Like, so I'm doing this specifically to be judged on stage and like, this is what I'm doing just to kind of cheat my way through the system a little bit to get a smaller waist versus, I'm selling these things to the general public saying this is a good idea.
Yeah, no.
Stupid.
The most effective thing you could do to shrink your waist by far is
get a bigger
lean.
back.
Okay. And
get a bigger back and get leaner.
Yeah.
That's it.
So did you guys see the Insta story I did just a few days ago where I drew an arrow to my waist? Did you see that? I drew an arrow to my waist and I said, this is the only spot that matters, or this is all I need to know. And I pointed right to the. So I think why
I did one on my crotch.
Why this has come really popular, especially with like men's physique competitors, bikini competitors, is that waist, that low back area, is a very, very common area for people to store body fat.
Oh, I see.
And it happens to be one of the most stubborn areas for your body to, in general. Right? There's a total overgeneralization. Everybody is uniquely different. But especially men, we carry the tire, right? It's very common that we carry that low back and belly fat, and the low back fat is the last place to go. So if you've been watching my journey, as I'm leaning out right now and getting in competitive type shape, I'm showing you that, like, even right now, you can see like the definition in my back, but then my waist is kind of boxy right now. But it's not going to be a waist trainer or the lack of deadlifts that's going to get rid of that last bit. I will literally, you're going to see my waist come way in, and it will be because I get leaner. And it will take me until I push my body beyond this 5% before you really see it go there. I just had this conversation with Katrina, and she's kind of following the same journey. And I get this a lot. So I think this is a great topic aside from we've already covered deadlifting and squatting. You're silly to get rid of those out of your training, just in my opinion. But as far as the waist thing goes, everybody is going to have these areas on their body where if you get down to 7% body fat, let's say, which is pretty low.
It's going to hold on for dear life.
Well, it's still going to be there,
it'll be
right?
there.
Even so Justin did his transformation journey when we first started, and he got all ripped and lean. But I guarantee if you asked him, did you have areas still where you felt kind of fat or you felt like you were holding fat? So yes,
his glutes.
Yeah. And the same thing goes for Sal. Sal's incredibly lean right now, right? You keep yourself in single digit body fat pretty much year round. But I guarantee if I asked you right now, where's your fat? You would know right where it's at, right?
Inner thighs.
Right. So everybody has these areas, and it's not that it's impossible to get them, and it's not that you're going to cheat the system by using some bullshit tool or eliminating exercise. You've got to get leaner. You've got to put yourself, because you can get, and I don't recommend that people get to 1% or 2% body fat, but I guarantee you if you did push to 1% or 2% body fat, that fat would go.
Yeah.
It would eventually go. It would definitely end up going at one point. And most people have just never pushed their body to that point to see that last bit of their waist. Because your waist, when I get all the way down for stage, I mean, you can like see my hip bone. I mean, you can literally see all of that when I'm all the way down. But I have to get down to that, and you won't see it until then.
And here's the other thing to consider. Like when you look at somebody in real life that looks truly impressive, who's lean, muscular, and looks like they can move and function.
They have a built core.
They have a well-developed core. Yeah. Women too. You know, a lot of these CrossFit women that other women are like, oh my God, that's what I want to look like. And by the way, I don't necessarily hear a lot of women say they want to look like, there are some, but a figure or a fitness competitor, how they want to look every day. Most women are like, no, that's too much. I don't want to look like that every single day. It looks cool, but when they look at these CrossFit girls who are performing and doing these workouts and stuff, a lot of women will be like, oh my God, that looks awesome, looks strong, that's what I look like. And you look at these women and they have very well-developed core and obliques. Mm-hmm. It's not going to make you look bad to have well-developed obliques. Obliques in sports,
they serve a function.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, come on.
Your obliques are as important, if not more important.
Stabilizing all lateral forces. I mean, like you're putting your spine out there on blast if you don't have that support.
Look at athletes that have to actually perform. Look at grapplers. Look at boxers. Look at football players when they're lean. Look at all these different athletes and look at their obliques. They're well developed. They're strong because you need that to perform. And the ancient Greeks even knew this. When you look at the statues of what the ancient Greeks carved of like Hercules, for example, or David, for example, and they kind of, they sculpted these sculptures.
They could have gave him a more impressive piece.
That's true. That was weird.
What the hell was that all about?
That's a different story.
Yeah.
I think they considered small penises.
It was
aesthetic.
Back then,
They thought it was aesthetic.
Okay.
But they put big obliques on them. The sculpture of Hercules, he's got this thick, strong, lean core with these strong obliques. And when you see that in real life, you know that person's pretty strong. So this fear of developing the midsection, I have yet to meet anybody ever where I looked at them and I'm like, oh wait, you probably should stop working out your midsection because it's crazy. Look, it's too developed.
Muscular.
I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
So this whole fear of thickening your waist, like get the fuck out of here. Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it's silly. And the more you squat and deadlift, like you said to start with, you're just going to make your back and your butt, your butt and hips and legs are going to be more impressive because you squat. Your back is going to be more impressive because you deadlift, and those two things being drastically different is going to.
Well, you're not setting yourself up for massive pain later on in life, like a fucking idiot.
Yeah, don't listen to those guys.
Stupid.
Quick commercial break, you guys. We keep getting asked all the time, how can I support the Mind Pump family? Here's one of the best ways you guys can. You guys love that Chimera coffee that we have. Chimera coffee with a K. You go to chimeracoffee.com, put in the discount code MindPump for 10% at the checkout. Also, if you guys want to know how I have this luxurious beard and you want one too, go to bigtopbeardcompany.com, put in the discount MindPump again, but this time for 33% off. Also, if you guys have not tried Ben Greenfield's new bars out, they're fantastic. If you want some, go to bengreenfieldfitness.com/naturebite, put in the code MindPump and get 10% off. Go check it out.
All right, next up is from Sarah Gets Fit Recovered. What are you most afraid for your kids with advertising in the fitness world today?
Oh, geez. For me, especially for my daughter, although this is more and more true for boys as well nowadays, I'm really afraid that my kids will compare themselves to the
Insta stars.
Yeah, to the unattainable standards that are projected through media. And I'm not even as afraid of advertising as I am of social media. Social media is much more powerful than a commercial. Nowadays it used to be commercials and stuff like that. Now it's all social media stuff. And they've already done studies on this where they find like girls, the more time they spend on Instagram, the more depressed they become, the more their self-esteem drops, their body image goes down. Boys you're starting to see this with men and boys as well. And it's just this false perception that is your value. And when you're in fitness, or you want to look fit, or you want to be fit, and you're looking at all these pictures, so much of the value is placed on appearance, and so little of the value is placed on knowledge or wellness or how you feel or even performance for that matter. It's all about appearance. And when you compare yourself to these pictures, the funny thing is when you meet a lot of these people in person, and this is just 100%, like we host a podcast, it's a fitness podcast. We have just the blessing of being able to meet all these influential fitness stars. But I'm going to tell you something right now. They're way less impressive in person than they are in pictures. And that's by design. I mean, if you're taking a picture of someone, you're not going to put a picture, you're going to maximize the effect of that picture. And that's everything from lighting, pump,
Photoshop.
Diet, Photoshop, digital, alterations of
photos. Still happens.
And not only does it still happen, but it happens more often than not. And then you meet these people in person. You're like, whoa, they don't look a lot like what I had pictured them to look like. So that's really what worries me, is that my kids may, think that these are the ideals that they need to attain, and if they don't have these crazy genetics, and if they're not in this, always in these extreme dieted states, and I don't want it to motivate them to take diet pills or anabolics or anything like that to try and look like what they think they need to look like in order to be attractive. So that's my biggest fear.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, for sure, like the whole vanity side and the aesthetic world. Like, I mean, it's great to look good, but at the same time, yeah, it can get. I mean, honestly, there's just so much misinformation out there that I feel like we're just always going to have to be in their ear. It's just like what we do right now. Like, I'm afraid of all of it because I just don't see like many people spouting off really good information that's popular. We're finding all these people on our own and we're putting them on our show and we're like, yeah, somebody that gets it and is telling things that are like, it's solid information. I hope that I hope that I don't detour them away, from being overbearing with, my philosophy and just my experience and all that. I want to be more, let them sort of be inquisitive towards me and really want to learn. If it's not for me, it's from somebody that like I trust, and like I find them, somebody to sort of model after, whether it's a sports pursuit or whether it's just lifestyle pursuit or, just healthy living and eating and, like just better practices. But yeah, dude, I'm honestly, I'm afraid of it all. I haven't seen anything good. It's very small.
It is. Do you guys think that our kids, and Adam, you too, I know you have kids, but I'd like to hear your opinion.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm so scared of this. It makes me not want to have kids, dude. I'm not kidding. Like, you talk about some of the reasons why I'm not like interested in having children. This is one of them. I think, and I don't want to be like all,
doom and gloom.
Yeah, right. Like everyone has got kids and wants kids so bad. But to piggyback off of what Sal was saying, man, we're in, and I just happen to be in the middle of reading a book called Irresistible right now. Fantastic book, and it talks about tech and the addiction and the way how we've created it to be addictive. And man, it's scary to think that we're only 9 or 10 years into the Facebook generation. We have no fucking clue what the long-term effects are going to be like. We know what magazines did and advertising and marketing did in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and we know what kind of issues it's caused with people as far as image issues and bulimia and anorexia and stuff like that. I'm scared to death on the generation that doesn't know anything else but social media, that was born with a phone, that was born with Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, and doesn't go through a day without picking the phone up on average, the average is like 50 something times a day and over 2 hours a day of time that is being, and that's the average right now. And that's, by the way, on a crazy increase right now. So, I mean, you're talking about these kids come high school time, your guys is when they hit high school time. This is something that, do you police it? How do you manage that? I would be scared.
It's new territory.
It is. It's such new territory, and I think it's a lot scarier than I think anyone talks about. And I feel even more passionate about it going through this book and going like, whoa, I never thought of it like that.
Well, trip off this, right? You have kids growing up now posting selfies, lots of selfies. And guys, if they're working out, they're posting with their shirt off, and then girls especially, because it's reinforced through attention, are posing, provocatively or trying to look cute or sexy or whatever. When we were kids, because this didn't exist, it wasn't that long ago, it's one generation ago. If you were a kid that took lots of selfies and photos like that, that was very strange. It would be very, very strange for a girl.
Could you get your ass kicked?
Could you imagine 15 years ago in high school or whatever?
Oh my God. I would tackle that guy.
If somebody took a camera and set it up on the thing and put the timer on it and and you walk by and you saw that, you'd be like, what the fuck? That at one point. That became very normal. How normal is it right now?
We accepted that.
I remember the first day this happened. I remember it hit me I was like, whoa, this is so normal that this dude didn't even stop doing it. Yeah. I walk in the bathroom and
now they hand you their phone hey bro.
And they'll ask you. People will ask you. You'll go in the bathroom. Hey bro, can you take a shot of me real quick?
Can you take a video of me doing the Smith machine press?
It's like, whoa, it's become so normal that it's not weird to see at least 3. I've actually gone into the Gold's men's bathroom and actually seen people lining up and waiting
for the mirror. No, you didn't.
No way, dude.
Yes.
That's happening.
The mirror's got good lighting.
2-3 dudes, shirts off, waiting for this guy to get his selfie so I can now come in and get my selfie.
Hurry up, bro. I'm losing my pump.
Because we know that this is the best mirror with the best lighting in the entire gym, and anybody who's taken 1 or 2 selfies in that gym knows that. And so literally people during a busy time will have to wait for the other guy to get and it's all fucking normal.
Dude,
it's like, whoa.
Think about this.
No, it's not normal.
Think about this. Imagine when we were kids, you're 18 years old or whatever, you're a teenager, and there's a girl that's taking pictures of herself in her bikini and looking hot and smiling, and she's sending it out to people.
Yeah.
Hey guys, check this all out. Everybody be like, what the fuck is
check
wrong?
me out right now.
Yeah, they'd be like, what is wrong with that girl? Why is she doing that?
It's like the equivalent.
But that's what you do now.
She's going to Thrifties and getting a Polaroid or whatever, getting her pictures developed and then putting it in the mail and sending it to everybody. You'd be like, what, this crazy bitch? Oh, thank you. Yeah. I wanted this so bad.
It's crazy to me, and what really makes it crazy and what really scares me is I know, my daughter's adorable. She's cute, and maybe she'll be really pretty when she grows up, and she might post a picture on social media, and young dudes are young dudes, and they're gonna like the fuck out of it, and girls are gonna like the fuck out of it because she's cute, or maybe she's posing in a certain way or whatever, and it's gonna reinforce to her that her value.
It's like a value system. Yeah,
her value is her appearance.
Yeah.
It's reinforcing, and this is already a problem that we've identified for generations now. Before social media, we've identified that, especially with young girls, and women, that their value is their appearance, and this is a shitty thing. This is a shitty side effect of the advertising that happens in a free market system. For example, it's a side effect of it, and it's a horrible one, where you believe that so much of your value is on your appearance, and it's always been like this. I mean, let's be honest. For all the human history, of course, appearance makes a big difference, but never have we had this immediate feedback system, this reinforcement system, and never has it been like this for children at such a high level to where, I'm going to check my phone or I'm going to check my social media. Ooh, I got 100 likes. I got 200 likes. And then tomorrow I have no likes and I need to put something up to get more of it. Yeah. Do you know how many pages there are on Instagram with 10,000, 15, 20,000 followers that don't monetize, have nothing to do with business whatsoever? I have friends who have daughters, right, who are now in their teens and 20s even, who have 15,000 followers. Why? They're not selling anything. They don't know any of these people. Why do you have 15,000 followers on social media? Because it feels good. It reinforces these types of things. And now imagine a child or kid or teenager growing up getting reinforced that how they look is all important. It's super valuable. And at some point, you know what happens to you? You get old. Everybody gets old. And you know what you're going to end up seeing? What you see with people. Let's take a section of society where this is extreme. Let's take a section of the populace where their image, how they look, is constantly reinforced, how important they are, and it really impacts how much money they make. Let's look at actors, actresses, and models. Do models, actors, and actresses, do they age well? Do any of them have an easy time aging? They have a terrible time.
No.
It is a horrible experience.
That's why they always get hooked on drugs.
Hooked on plastic surgeries. I mean, have you ever met a 40-something-year-old famous actress or actor? I have. I've seen them in person. Their faces don't move. They've got so much Botox and shit in their face. It's crazy. And this is going to happen to people, normal people, because they got that shit happening to them now with social media.
As a parent, now how do you handle this, right? Yeah. So here's
you have to fucking police it, dude.
Well, chew on this.
You
now.
have to.
So, and this is happening already now, and so you better believe in the next 10 years it's going to be even crazier. That, and we just had a great post on the forum just recently. Someone shared, like, it was an educational video about the future of education and how you can build your own portfolio. So you do have some. I know some guys that are our age and buddies of ours that have kids, and they actually have started their kids' Instagrams and their pages now and help them. So they can build it, because in the future, that will be part of how you get hired. So in 10 years, Sal and Justin come to me. I own the big gym in the neighborhood. You guys both want jobs. You're both 17, 18 years old. You're fresh out of school, and you're like, hey, I want to be a personal trainer. Equal education. You guys are just equally smart. Look the same. Let's just say almost exactly the same.
This one has a following over here.
Exactly, but you have a 15,000 person following. Sal has only got 500 friends.
So I got a strategy for this, okay? I'm just going to get a bunch of like fake gold bars, and I'm going to take a bunch of pictures with that in the background of my kids and be like, we're balling.
Well, okay.
Then,
so you make a joke.
Just get like
you make a joke of that.
50,000 people following.
You make a joke of that, but the generation that grew up with all this, so fast forward again, 10 years forward. You've had Facebook most of your life, right? Your young adulthood into adulthood. You've now had kids that are coming up. So now you're savvy to it. You know how it helped you get a job. You know how it propelled you. Yeah. So what do? You go out and you buy a badass camera. You start taking shots. You start doctoring them up for your kid to build his image up earlier on, so his page starts to grow early so that he's got an even bigger following when he becomes an adult.
So this is why my kids are going to be entrepreneurs. They're not going to do any of that shit.
Thank you. So my biggest fear.
Scary, bro.
My big fear with this is,
fuck working for other people anyway.
My kids are not allowed to have public social media pages until they're adults. Period. End of story. The amount of predators online, especially for...
You say adult. Do you mean you're going to manage that till 18?
I'm not going to allow them to have public social media pages, and we'll see how this works out. That's what I'm saying right now.
Yeah, I
will not allow.
Yeah, I'm thinking right now, like a high school son or daughter.
No. I'll let them keep it private. Like I have a private one. Like on Instagram, you can keep it private. Like that's okay, but a public one is a big problem. Again, there's a shit ton of predators out there. I was just reading about some huge, bust that they just did out in L.A. about these pedophiles that were finding kids on social media and stuff. And a lot of parents, they let their kids have these public social media accounts, which I think is crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
So that's number one. And number two, I think the best approach, as with anything, right? It's like when you're afraid of your kids having sex or doing drugs or anything else. Like if you do the whole doom and gloom, don't do it speech, they tend to rebel. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to try and teach them how to make it a business. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna teach them the business of it, like how you can make money off this, how you can use this.
You manipulate the herd.
This way they could separate. They could separate themselves from it a little bit and understand.
This is how to get the money from your friends. This is how to take their money, son.
This is how you dupe them into everything you want them to do.
So trip off this, right? This is a story I read a year ago, and I just looked it up because I want to make sure I was accurate. So you guys know that China, so the Communist People's Republic of China, is using social media they're going to start using social media to help control their population. Have you heard of this?
No, I haven't.
No.
So
Please share.
So the Chinese.
China's so forward thinking.
Yeah, exactly. So China is going to give their citizens a score, and that score.
Not how popular they are. Sorry, you don't have enough friends. You're the weakest link.
You're just not interesting.
Bro,
we're
you're
going to
la-
kick you out of the country.
You're laughing right now, but check this out. This is scary, right? So people are going to get a score, and it's based on everything from the things that you like online to how you pay off your loans to the possessions you have, your education, your body. Like they're going to amass all this data, and they're going to use it to give people a score based on what they think that is a good citizen, right? Based on right.
This is great.
Now here's what's crazy.
That's fucked up, man.
Your score will determine whether or not you get privileges or you get privileges taken away. And here's the crazier part. If you associate with people with lower scores, it lowers your score. So now they've got
this is like a whole caste system, like all over.
Wow.
So now they're going to use social.
Adam, you were a 9.5 until you started hanging out with Sal. Now we're giving you a 7.2.
I don't want you to affect my number.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Get away from me.
So they're going to use social pressures then to get people to do what they want, what the communist regime wants people to do, to get these scores, to do better, to get more privileges and stuff like that.
Brilliant.
Scary, scary shit.
Wow. I'm not having kids. Sorry, hon.
And it's confirmed.
When in doubt,
We'll adopt a 22-year-old.
Yeah.
That's my other option.
Oh, adopt a 22-year-old. I like that approach.
Right. Next up is Fit by Fabian. Hiit versus Liss cardio. Which is best to get ready for stage?
I just love the acronyms. You know what I mean?
Liss.
Hit sounds cool, but Liss sounds stupid.
Yeah.
What are you doing right now, Liss?
I'm just listening.
I'm just listing.
I just like to list.
It's the double S's that gets
List
you.
is my favorite.
Yeah, so don't miss your list.
Yeah.
So which one's better? We've had a
I
lot
have a
of
list.
We've
I'm
had
doing
a-
so much list.
we've had a lot of these questions lately where the answer is it depends. Mm-hmm. So here's the pros and the cons of each, in my opinion. The pros of Hiit is it burns a lot of calories, short period of time, so you don't need to spend as much time doing it. Improves performance a little bit better if you're performance-based. If you're trying to get ready for stage, that doesn't really matter, so who cares about that? There may be a muscle-sparing effect from Hiit under certain circumstances. Now with Liss, the positives are it's easier, it's not as intense, but it takes a little longer. If your workouts are super intense anyway, it may be more appropriate to do Liss because if you're already pushing your body to the red line, to the limit with your diet, with your weights, especially if you're getting on stage, and then you're going to go expend intense energy doing sprints and stuff, that may push your body over the edge, whereas a walk or low-intensity cardio is not going to affect your central nervous system as much, and you'll still burn, that type of cardio.
Well, don't you do NEAT primarily, Adam, and then like towards the end, like getting up into the last like peak week or whatever, it's when you start experimenting with Hiit.
So, kind of. First of all, this is funny because Katrina and I were talking about this last night, and I think it's crazy if you are a competitor and you don't own a wearable. If you're an average person and you're anti-tech and you don't want to do it, and that's fine. I don't. But if you're a competitor and you're not using a tool like a wearable and you're asking questions like this, I think it's crazy to me because I was just sharing this with my pro buddy. Like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you do all these routines of cardio and stuff like that, but every fucking day is so unique and different. Like, that is how I decide if I'm doing Liss, Hiit, or I'm just going to do NEAT for the day, because there are certain days where I get up 2 hours earlier. I stay up 2 or 3 hours. I have to walk in the mall. I have to go grocery shopping. I had to clean something up in the yard of the house. And all of that makes a huge difference in your total caloric expenditure. So if you are dieting for a show and you're on a meal plan that your coach puts you on that is the same amount of calories every day to get you to lose a certain amount of weight, then your NEAT, Liss, and Hiit should reflect that. So if you're not tracking and paying attention to that, you're already losing the battle here. So I think and any pro that doesn't do that, they're following their bro science of I've done this before, it works for me, but they really don't understand the science of what they're doing. So when I start to get ready and cut for a show, which is kind of what I'm doing right now. So if you're not paying attention to my Insta story, you're going to watch exactly how I introduce.
Pay attention, bitch.
You're going to see exactly how I introduce cardio. I'm not doing any cardio right now. But if you've watched, when I first started, I was averaging about 8,000 to 10,000 steps a day. And that was me not trying to move extra. I actually went out of my way to be sedentary, to not go walk on the treadmill, not take extra steps, park further away in the parking lot, just track. So I would track for the first week, see what my average movement is. I was averaging 8,000 to 10,000 steps. As I start to decide I'm going to start leaning out, getting ready for a show, I then start to slowly increase my steps. So you're neat, like Justin was saying. So I'm just worried about that. No cardio, no Liss, no Hiit, none of that yet. I'm just starting to move more. And I'll do little things like park farther away at the gym. I'll park way far away. Have to where I have to walk an extra 500 to 1,000 steps to get in the gym and get out of the gym. I'll go grocery shopping. I'll do extra chores around the house. Little things that start to just increase the movement. Then the first bit of any sort of cardio that I introduce is 12 to 15 minutes of Hiit. And when I do it strategically. I add 3 days a week on top of wherever my current steps are. So if I'm now up to averaging 16 to 18,000 steps, which is about where I'm at now, I'm almost to this point, by the way, where I'm going to start to introduce 3 days a week of 12 to 15 minutes Hiit. So post-workout, I'll go over, do 12, 15 minutes of Hiit. I'm done. No cardio. I'll do that for a couple weeks, probably about 2, since that's about all it takes for the body to start to get adapted to your cardiovascular training. Then I'll start to add in some Liss. And Liss for me is almost like NEAT. So Liss is low intensity, steady state cardio, right? So walking. So I'll get on the treadmill now and I will actively walk for 45 minutes to an hour. But all of it is all relative to my movement in the day. I won't do any cardio if I just we just had, where did we just go? Katrina and I went somewhere and I had like a 20,000 step day. And if that happened during this process, guess what? That would be the day that I wouldn't do any Liss. I wouldn't need to because I actually burned an extra 800 calories just through moving throughout my day. So why would I add the cardio on top of that? I don't need to do that. My body's already burning more than I need it to. I would definitely do it on a day where, guess what? We were in meetings. We had to fly to Florida. We had to do something that made me stay sedentary for a majority of the day. So then I would do Liss, and the amount of time that I do the Liss would be dictated off of how much movement I did in the day. So when I hear competitors that aren't tracking this and aren't paying attention to this, it blows my mind because they get so caught up in all the acronyms of Liss, Hiit, high intense, or doing long bouts of cardio and doing the ropes versus the Stairmaster versus the elliptical. And it's like, dude, you don't even know the difference between Monday and Thursday, your movement, but yet you're worried or you're asking, oh, is this cardio better than that cardio? Like, you need to figure out how much your body is moving and burning first, and forget about if the tool is exactly precise. You're looking for the consistency in your movement. You don't understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I'm glad you used you explained the acronym because I just realized there may be some listeners who don't know what what Hiit is and what Liss is. So Liss is the long, steady state, low intensity cardio. Hiit is the high intensity, short bouts, interval type of cardio. Here's the other thing you want to consider. If you're getting ready for stage, competitors on stage they look at cardio like it's this magic fat burning thing that they do. All you're doing is you're burning calories, okay? You're trying to burn calories with cardio. Couldn't you just eat less calories too? I mean, couldn't you technically, you've got this competitor who's eating, 1.5 grams of protein per pound of body weight, and there's way too much protein. Can't they just stop?
Let's break the science.
Doing that.
Let's break the science down on why I do that opposed to doing cardio. And I'll explain this because I think this is important that people understand this. I am less likely to lose muscle by reducing my caloric intake and just walking and focusing on my NEAT than I am to eat less calories and push my body harder on the treadmill. We've talked about this on the show before. If you do lots of cardio, you are sending a signal to your body that it is not advantageous to have all this muscle that you built on the off season. So I don't want to do a ton of cardio if I'm trying to lean out. Sure, it helps burn lots of calories, like Sal was saying, but it would be way more advantageous to reduce the caloric intake and keep my intensity lower. I'm more likely to hold on to my lean body mass.
Dude, how big of a role do you think the overuse of cardio
Well, you're confusing
plays?
your body.
Well, think about it. The overuse of cardio with a competitor getting ready for stage, because I've seen competitors 12 weeks out already doing an hour of cardio every single day. Like, what role do you think that plays in them destroying their metabolism?
Oh, a big role. And not only that.
That's crazy. I mean, you could technically get shredded. You definitely could get shredded without a single bit of cardio. It's just, you're already lifting weights, so it's not like you're not active. I'm not talking about someone who's lazy and doesn't do anything. You're lifting weights probably 6 days a week anyway.
Think cardio for me is having nitrous. If I'm a car racer, right? And I all the real work is in building the engine, the good tires, aerodynamic. You've done all the work to engineer the perfect car for speed.
Car racer.
And you've also got this can of 50 shots of nitrous. But all you got is 50 shots of nitrous. That's all you got. You can try and shoot it every single day leading up there until it runs out and see where you're at. Or you can hang on to it and use it when you need to actually get a little bit more out or lean out.
This is how I beat all you guys at off-road.
Well, I use this analogy because when you're competing, it's totally different than the average person who's just trying to get in shape. When I'm competing, I have a date. I have to look a certain way on stage, and I want to know that I got that nitrous there for those final couple weeks. If I notice that my timing is off, if I come down to the last 2 weeks and I go, oh shit, I should be a little bit leaner than where I'm at right now. I'm a little behind schedule. Oh, guess what? I haven't done any cardio. This is awesome. Yeah. I now have this that I can implement into my routine that's going to really help. Now, that same person who's already has been doing an hour of cardio, like Sal said, for their last 6 weeks of their prep, they're in the same predicament as I am, only their body is so adapted to that.
And all they can do now is add more cardio, which just sends a bigger signal that they need to be more efficient and maybe lose muscle. It's just cardio should definitely be used as an emergency thing. If you're getting on stage, you're already lifting weights, you're already active. Now, if you just want to be healthy, it's good to just
totally
be active.
different, right? Totally different.
And if you want to improve your VO2 max and your endurance, then cardio should be used for performance.
Sport specific, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but
that's different, right?
But to get ready for stage, here's what happens with cardio very quickly, actually. As you're burning more calories doing cardio consistently, your body's metabolism actually slows down to match the calorie expenditure. Now, this doesn't happen with resistance training because although while you're burning calories with resistance training, your body can slow its metabolism down to match the output, you're also sending a signal that it needs more muscle, and that more muscle in turn burns more calories. So resistance training speeds up metabolism, cardio slows down your metabolism. And the last thing you want to do going into a stage is just hammer your metabolism. I mean, how many competitors have you run into, female competitors who are eating 1,000 calories, lifting weights for an hour, and doing an hour of cardio a day up until working up to a contest?
It's ridiculous.
It's crazy.
It is crazy, and I do want to make a point that this is when you're talking about stage, you're talking about a competitive sport. Totally, rules of health are different. Okay, so somebody who does cardio because they want to be like for overall health and cardio condition, someone who wants to do it for sports, like Justin said, totally different. When you ask me a competitor question specifically for getting up on stage, I'm going to say, where the fuck is your wearable and why are you doing cardio? That should be a tool that you want to save in your arsenal, and it's there for that. I need to, the last few weeks, ramp things up. Otherwise, I want to manipulate everything through my resistance training, the volume of my training, and my nutrition. I want to manipulate everything. I want to save that cardio because, like Sal said, it does not take very long for the body to adapt to whatever, whether it be Liss, Hiit, or no matter what type of cardio you're doing, the body figures it out really quick and becomes very efficient.
Take that waist trainer off, bitch.
Quick commercial break. Hey, people ask us all the time how they can support Mind Pump. Here's what you can do. You can go to www.brain.fm/mindpump and get 20% off Brain FM for meditation or focus. You can also go to audibletrial.com/mindpump and get a 30-day trial plus one free audio book. Lastly, you can go to getnatureblend.com/mindpump, and you will get a discount on Ben Greenfield's CBD product.
Next question is from Justin Lackey. How do you reconcile the fact-based information you share on the show with someone like Paul Chek, who actively rebukes all scientific understanding?
Somebody didn't like
Wait,
didn't
what?
like Check there.
That's hilarious.
I don't know if I would say he rebukes scientific understanding at all.
If anything, first off, I don't think anybody is infallible, so including Paul. I like Paul a lot as a person, and I respect a lot of what he has brought to the wellness world. Paul Chek, in my opinion, is the godfather of the wellness world, the holistic wellness world. This guy's been doing this stuff way before it was popular. Paul Chek introduced the physio ball to exercise. He talked about, using fats in your coffee to slow down the absorption before anybody else did. He talked about gut health and microbiome health before anybody else did. And when he was doing this, he was laughed at. He was laughed at and made fun of. And these are things now that we take for granted, things that we all now accept as science and is important.
Well, I want to know specifics. Like he's saying, like he brought up things that were not within the scientific understanding.
When he talks about spirituality, and stuff
so
like that,
I get what he's trying to say by that, because there are things that Paul will say,
but still, that was outside of like a regular conversation about like scientific practices that he applies.
Well, this is what Paul does a lot of, and so I'm going to help kind of defend this guy a little bit, but then I'm also going to check him because no pun intended, there, right?
Whoa.
So
that
works so well.
Yeah, right. So here's the deal: like Paul absolutely is science based.
Yeah, that's
but then
the
what
thing.
he does from all the science, which he has,
He gets like bored with science.
he has a ton of it. He's also the guy who is theorizing other things and going beyond where science has proven yet. And so when a guy like myself listens to him and you hear him and you're like, oh shit, that's right on. That's right. Whoa, where are we going now? Whoa, whoa. Like that is way beyond the question or the answer that I was looking for, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's rebuking science. He's talking about theories that, in my opinion, make a lot of sense. Are they for sure right? I don't know. But I also don't know they're wrong either. And I do know that the foundation of everything that he talks about is very science-based.
Well, here's what's funny. If you were to take his course, especially the first couple courses, because once you get to the later ones, then it gets esoteric as well, from my understanding. I've never taken the course, but it's from my understanding. But if you take his early courses, it's very, very science-based. If you ever meet Paul and just get on a scientific discussion about the human body, biomechanics, anatomy, the digestive system, the hormonal system, all psychology, all these different things. He's very, very science-based. The problem is he gets bored with that. So when we have him on the show,
Honestly, that's what I think it is.
yeah, when we get him on the show and we're like asking him questions about exercises and biomechanics, he'll answer it for 2 seconds and then he goes off onto his esoteric stuff, which is not science. It's the opposite of science and doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just, how would you discuss those esoteric concepts of like spirituality and all those different things? How do you discuss those on a scientific, using the scientific method? I don't think you can necessarily, right? So he kind of comes across that way. But here's the other thing about our show is that we have people on our show that we like, but that doesn't mean we agree with them all the time.
Right.
We just like the people, and we had the polar opposite of Paul Chek in this realm on our show too. Lane Norton. We had a 4-hour episode with Lane. You put Lane and Paul in a room together, and they probably turn into a black hole because they're such polar opposites. Who knows? They probably spin around each other like
supernova explosion.
Yeah, who knows? But we like them both. We think they both bring interesting perspectives, and we like to provide that to our
I like
audience.
to challenge everybody's thought process, and I think that it's not fair to make a statement that he doesn't like live in the science realm, because he absolutely does, and that's the foundation, like you guys mentioned. It's just that he challenges the thought process, and it goes really out there, and it's really hard to sit and listen to some of those ideas.
Paul is not the best communicator.
No,
that's
well,
the truth. So
I
he's
think it's very simple-minded also to rebuke a person just because you don't agree with everything they say. I mean, like you just gave a great analogy.
Just dismiss somebody right away.
Lane and Paul may not be the two best friends and may not hang out with each other and may totally disagree on, but that's one of the things that we pride ourselves on at Mind Pump is that we're very open-minded, and there are qualities that I absolutely love about Lane Norton. There's qualities that I absolutely love about Paul Chek, even though their ideologies may be completely different. Like that, to me, that's so small-minded that you would think like, oh, why would we bring someone on? Like, we're going to bring people on the show a lot that I don't agree with everything they say. Like somebody was trying to.
It's more interesting.
There was some little
the confirmation bias, everything.
Some little troll was trying to start some shit between Lane and I because I said some shit about Lane on the show. I'm like, there's nothing that I've said on the show about Lane that I wouldn't fucking tell Lane to his face. I had dinner with the motherfucker just like a week ago, so you don't know anything about our relationships with these people and like what we think about them. If they're on our show, we fucking like something about them. And we believe that there's something about their message that people can take away from. They don't need to line up with every view that we have. In fact, that's how you get confirmation bias. That's how you get people that get stuck in a dogma because they're not willing to expand and not think outside the box and maybe listen to people that actually conflict with some of their views. I mean, that's how you grow.
We just got back from Tampa and we met with Ben Pekulski. We had great conversations with him. And Ben Pekulski's mantra is feel the muscle, don't train the movement. This is like the opposite of a lot of times what I say, which is train the movement.
Nails on a chalkboard.
And and especially opposite of what Justin would say.
Yeah.
Now. But do we listen to him?
But I love the guy.
We hear it. And are there takeaways from it? Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know what's funny? What's funny thing that what happens when you're open-minded? You end up learning shit. I mean, that's just the bottom line.
Right.
And I guarantee you we're going to have a guest on our show at some point that we disagree with completely. I guarantee we'll have a guest on our show at some point where we don't agree with a damn thing they say, but the reason why we want them on the show is so that we can debate and discuss, and maybe out of the debate and discussion that happens on the show, people will learn something or it'll spark someone's interest to learn something or to look deeper. So we don't agree with everything Paul says.
No.
Part of it's because I don't understand everything he says.
Right.
And part of it is I may actually disagree or maybe I communicate it differently. The same thing is true with Lane Norton and Tom Bilyeu and some of the other guests that we've had on the show. So, again, I disagree with the question.
I can't think of one person I wouldn't challenge. You know what I mean? Like
on something, right?
On something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, come on. That's if you're not doing that constantly, then I don't know. I'm worried about you.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna just accept somebody like, oh, they're always like you just like you put them up on this pedestal. Well, guess what? They're gonna fail you. Mm-hmm. So you just have to take you sort of compartmentalize it and take and extract the truth in a lot of what they're saying. So like both of those examples are great examples, like Paul Chek's and your Lane Nortons, because they obviously are passionate in different arenas, and for a reason.
It's
and
fun.
both are fucking badass.
Brilliant.
Both are badass dudes in their own way. You know what I'm saying? That's what. God, I mean, maybe what's made me passionate about personal training is I love humans, dude. I love people. I love how unique everybody is and what makes everybody tick, man. And I think that is something that I always want us to bring to this show is like, I don't ever want to, man, I remember when we also did, what was his name that we brought him on for internet marketing, and we totally went into the evolution creation talk.
Perry Marshall.
Yeah. And I know that freaked out some people because of his theories on that and got into these huge debates. It's like, dude, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I 100%
so firm on creationism. You're so firm on evolution.
Right.
Like, dude,
he's
really?
He's an intelligent.
You got it all figured out.
He's a very intelligent man. And it's listening to him talk is awesome, dude. Whether I agree or disagree,
I'm telling you, it's actually pretty. It's enjoyable if you allow yourself to enjoy it. To listen to people with completely opposite view from you. Mm-hmm. If you just stop for a second, and it's hard. But look, we just watched the documentary "What the Health," which was,
and we sat through the whole thing.
And you know what? And you know what?
Bullshit.
I
punching myself in the balls. The whole time.
I listened to hear like I want to hear what their points are. Like, are they making good points? Now, they made very few good points in my opinion, but I enjoyed watching or hearing what their arguments are. I want to hear what their arguments are because then I don't know what my side is well enough if I don't know what the other side is saying.
Well, I think when you actually talked about it, we wouldn't have been able to do that because I felt that when you even discussed it, you had such a great understanding of the passion behind the people that probably put that documentary together because of their passion for saving animals. And when you fully understand, when you watch all of it with an open mind, even though it's totally opposite of what we believe and talk about, it is very clear. And you also have this compassion for them. It's not like this, oh, that's a stupid documentary. We rebuke it. We want nothing to do with it. It's ridiculous. And I would never listen to that propaganda. It's like, hey, you know what? I remember you just talked about this on the show recently. You said, when people are very passionate about something, like some vegans are, especially when it comes, they look at animals like they look at
like
humans,
murder.
and they would do anything to save them, even if that means putting out something that is a little biased, like that documentary is. It makes me have even more compassion for it instead of being so angry about it that it's bad information. It's like, hey, I get where they're coming from and I get how passionate they are about where they believe, that they're willing to put some misinformation out there if it means that they can get 3 less people to eat meat because that's 3 animals that they could potentially save. And that's 3 lives that they could be saving, and that it's worth it for them.
Yeah.
I understand.
And the other thing you want to consider when people rebuke scientific understanding, because I do that sometimes too. We do that in here too. For example, the current scientific understanding of glyphosates or artificial sweeteners. If I was to look up the current scientific, what the FDA says, what the top scientific organizations will say, their current understanding of those things is, so far it's safe and use those things. Now I'm going to rebuke them because there's other threads of truth that I'm finding in some of my own research. It just hasn't been accepted yet, and I believe it'll change as we go along. If this were the 1920s, okay, and I were rebuking the scientific understanding of cigarettes, if I were sitting here saying, listen, cigarettes are addictive, cigarette smoke causes cancer, I would be rebuking all scientific understanding at that time of cigarette smoke, because at that time, doctors and scientists were saying it's not addictive and it doesn't cause lung cancer. So that's something else you want to keep in mind. When you hear someone rebuking scientific understanding, don't block them out because you think they're rebuking scientific understanding. They could very well be totally wrong and idiots, or sometimes you hear what they're saying and they point you in a certain direction. You start doing your own research and you go, oh shit, this is kind of crazy. Like leaky gut syndrome. 10 years ago, I heard about leaky gut syndrome first 10 years ago. I brought it up to a lot of the doctors that I trained. I trained a lot of doctors and surgeons.
They laughed.
They laughed and they said, that's bullshit. That's made up. That's I don't remember what they call it, but it was basically bullshit. Guess what? It's starting to, not yet, but it's starting to become accepted. You're going to see in the next 5 to 10 years, it probably will be accepted. Now, at the time, you're crazy or whatever, but if you listened, like I did, I actually sat there and listened, and I said, wait a minute, this could very well be true. This doesn't sound like bullshit. A lot of these things that are happening right now we can't explain. This definitely could explain the thing. I don't necessarily believe that this may be the explanation, but I do think that they may be on the right track, and I definitely see how the current scientific understanding is wrong on this. It sounds like it's wrong in this respect. Well, then you come out with better information. So
well, and circling back to Paul, what I think when Paul starts to get the kind of religious, spiritual talk, it really turns a lot of people away. But I think the part of me that's so drawn to that is something that I found out in exercise science, and being a trainer who was based off of that for most of my career. I started to find out that actually that was the smaller piece, and the psychological piece, and the people's emotion and their relationship with themselves, and all the shit that really science can't explain very well, was more important to them getting their goals and seeing the results they need to, and actually making an improvement in their life.
It's more transformative.
Yeah, it was way more transformative. And when I started looking deeper into that type of stuff, which is tough for me to explain as a trainer, like, getting
that hits your ego even harder.
Right. Yeah. And try explaining ego scientifically.
Right.
You can't. It's really tough to do. But yet we know that stuff plays a huge role in people's success or failure towards getting their goals. So when I hear someone like Paul talk that way, sure, I hear some stuff and I go, oh, that sounds crazy. But a lot of good comes from what that man is talking about, and a lot of stuff can be taken away. I wish he communicated it a little bit better. I wish he cared. He doesn't give a shit what people think about him. That's what I love about the guy. Yeah. But I do think his message, there's a lot of powerful things that he says in there that isn't science based.
I've just seen too many things now in the 20 years I've been in fitness and health. I've just seen too many things that came out and at the time were bullshit and it's not scientific and that's baloney. Fasting is a great example. Did you know, if you're a younger listener, you have no idea, but when I first got into fitness, if you talked about fasting because it was good for your body and it detoxed your body and you need to fast to get rid of toxins, whatever, we made fun of it.
Oh my God.
It was bullshit. The liver
if you miss a meal, you're losing muscle.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but the liver does a great job of detoxing. You're not toxic. What are you talking about? Like fasting? There's no health benefits to fasting. And here these spiritual, religious, wellness, weirdos were coming saying, no, I have so much energy when I fast. And I'm thinking like, no, you don't. You don't have no food in you. You're fucking crazy. Like and guess what? They were right.
Yeah.
They were right. Now they may have communicated it in their language, but they were right. At the time, they rebuked all scientific understanding. And guess what scientific understanding says today? They were right. Fasting was right. So again, you got to be careful with, and I have so many examples. Like I remember taking my kids to the doctor and they had a cough and the doc tells me, oh yeah, if you give them some honey, that'll help with their cough. And I'm like, what? I thought that was an old wives' tale. In fact, that's what I was told years ago, that it's an old wives' tale. She says, no, we actually discovered that there's a compound in honey that suppresses the part of the brain that causes the coughing reflex, and so it helps with coughing. I'm like, well, fuck me. Would you look at that? So again, rebuking scientific understanding, not a problem. Just be open-minded, and you may find out that their information may be correct. Check this out. Go to YouTube, Mind Pump TV. We post a new video every single day, and here's why you want to subscribe to that channel. When you subscribe, you get an alert right away with the title of the video and what we posted, so you can stay up to date and learn how to train properly, how to eat properly, and how to stay open-minded so you can learn your body better. Also, if you want to ask us a question that we answer on an episode like this one, the place to do it is Instagram. You can find our page. It's called Mind Pump Media. You can find our personal pages as well. I have one. It's Mind Pump Sal. Justin has a personal page. It's Mind Pump Justin. Adam has a personal page, Mind Pump Adam. And Doug has one. You want to guess the name of it?
What is it?
Mind Pump Doug.
Whoa.
Thank you for listening to Mind Pump. If your goal is to build and shape your body, dramatically improve your health and energy, and maximize your overall performance, check out our discounted RGB Super Bundle at mindpumpmedia.com. The RGB Super Bundle includes MAPS Anabolic, MAPS Performance, and MAPS Aesthetic. 9 months of phased expert exercise programming designed by Sal, Adam, and Justin to systematically transform the way your body looks, feels, and performs. With detailed workout blueprints and over 200 videos, the RGB Super Bundle is like having Sal, Adam, and Justin as your own personal trainers, but at a fraction of the price. The RGB Super Bundle has a full 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can get it now plus other valuable free resources at mindpumpmedia.com. If you enjoy this show, please share the love by leaving us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes and by introducing Mind Pump to your friends and family. We thank you for your support, and until next time, this is Mind Pump.